I would settle for a world in which I could worry about the same kinds of things that my parents worried about, in which I only had to worry about the grades my children got in school rather than the drugs they're being exposed to, in which I only had to worry about the prices my wife had to pay at the supermarket instead of fearing that she might get mugged by a junkie in the parking lot as she loads her groceries into the car, in which tonight I could call my mom just to wish her pleasant dreams, not for the purpose of making sure she's safe in her own home. That's the kind of world I want. That's the kind of world you deserve. In a nutshell, the president's plan doesn't include enough police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors to convict them, not enough judges to sentence them, and not enough prison cells to put them away for a long time. We disagree with the president's decision to cut back on our previous commitment to protect against drugs coming across the border, to cut the Customs Service, the Coast Guard, and the Border Patrol. We think we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders, and we think we should go one step further. Let's go after the drug lords where they live, with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it. And we don't have to promise a world without worry or fear. We're not asking for that much. All we have to do together is to keep our promises and stay together. Thank you.
Wow, I don't know who that guy was, but he must be some kind of rising star in the GOP. And once that derelict of a president that we've got in there today is safely out of office, we need to get that guy in the White House so he can clean up this drug and border crime problem. Welcome, everybody. How you guys doing? Joining me tonight, Representative Jaime Greene is with us because, as some of you guys may have noticed, we've been talking about some drama in the state party for a very, very long time, and it's been a little bit of a distraction from the things that have happened in Lansing. We thought what better than a state representative who is been in the trenches, because although things have been a little bit quieter in Lansing since the last year, they haven't quite stopped. So welcome, Jaime. Thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing? Happy Daylight Savings Day.
Well, thank you. I had a whole week of some illness, but I am finally back and ready to hit the ground running. So,
oh, that's good. Well, we definitely need to talk about what's been going on in Lansing. Although I think we should
also say that Lakin Riley has a name. I'm still like, I know we were going to talk about Lansing, but after you just played that video, I just can't let that go right now. Like it's like, wow. Her blood.
The speech was ghastly from start to finish, but that moment when Marjorie Taylor Greene, no relation, I assume, called out Biden on this poor woman who was killed by an illegal alien, which I have to say, I'm not exactly sure why she's the poster case for this, because it's not like there haven't been hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people murdered by illegal aliens, but so be it. He butchers her name and then goes on and apologizes the next day, not for anything other than calling the murderer an illegal, because that was what the problem was, obviously.
Well, yes, because he's using these terms undocumented. When we are a country of laws, and when you break the law, that is illegal. And so it is illegal to come into the country. So you are an illegal, it's so unfortunate too, because in my district, we have migrant workers. We have a huge population, maybe one of the largest in the state, of migrant workers who partner with businesses, have to fill out a ton of paperwork. And there are fees that they have to pay to come over and work here legally in the country. And so it's disappointing where we have these terms undocumented, illegal, or they even call them migrants, which is disappointing because there is an actual legal process for migrant workers. And I'm just so disgusted. Anybody, her blood is on Joe Biden's hands as far as I'm concerned. And anybody who supports his border policy has her blood on their hands as well. And we can move on to Lansing, but I just couldn't, you just can't do a cold open like that and then just let it hang.
No. And we should touch on that State of the Union, because it was just a travesty from start to finish. That was the low light. But there was also, first off, the bitterness, the vicious. He starts off attacking the Supreme Court, this is a guy who I think when he was sworn in thought that by now he'd have gotten everything under control. He'd have conquered Russia. Everything is just falling apart left and right. And he has no idea what to do. In fact, I've got this little clip this was actually put together by none other than the RNC. And this is their nice little, only 20 seconds long, but it's a nice super cut of let me start over. Oh, wait, I realized you guys probably can't hear this, can you? I just realized. I remember StreamYard has a problem with going into windowed mode. Let me do it this way. Here we go. This should be better.
We still can't hear anything, just so you know.
Hold on. You still couldn't hear that? Okay, then probably the chat can't either. So let me. Yeah, Randy just said he couldn't hear it either. Okay, let me try this one more time. I swear I'm new at this, guys. Give me a moment here.
We can talk about Lansing and come back.
No, this is the dead air that we're used to on this show here. Okay, here we go. We'll try this one more time.
Family for those farms and their children. They have children to instigate the Lincoln Riley.
That was the whole clip. And that's pretty much what it was. I mean,
that was the whole speech. I did not brave the whole thing, so I had better things to do.
I was going to live stream and I was like, I don't want to bore my audience, but there were so many weird moments. I mean, the big announcement he made on the stream on the State of the Union was he's going to open a port on the coast of Gaza to bring in humanitarian aid to Gaza, which will only take, a few months or so and some American boots on the ground, which is, why didn't anyone think of this before? Why didn't anyone think, the U.S., obviously we can't, because, we're a completely powerless country. We can't provide aid to Palestine without, building a port. There's just no way we could get it done any other way. No, we have no ability to get food over the border, no ability to exert pressure over the government there. No, nothing else we could do. We just have to build a port that couldn't possibly be any kind of, it was so weird. It was so weird. And then he says, the other thing he starts off with, and we're not going to forget about Ukraine. And then 2 minutes later, he's forgotten about Ukraine. On to the next topic. We don't want to dwell on Ukraine for very long because that didn't go very well. But my gosh, it was so embarrassing. It's a reminder of just how endangered our whole country is with this kind of leadership. Man, but anyway, all right. So enough of that bad topic. But getting back to Lansing, actually, there was almost a segue in there that we missed out on, which was this border security stuff and these illegals, because apparently the things the Democrats are really gung-ho about is giving these quote-unquote undocumented people driver licenses and ID cards.
Yes. Yeah. So so the bill, one of the lead bills on that by Representative Ayash, right in the first paragraph, it talks about, for purposes of this act, the citizenship or immigration status of an individual must not be considered in determining whether the individual is a resident of this state. So, there's a huge package of bills if we're talking about the licensing bill package. So just the very first bill that kicks this off, and that is House Bill 4410, just so you know, because there's been almost 2,000 bills introduced, but they have introduced a licensing bill package that the citizenship or immigration of an individual, it doesn't matter. We're going to give you a license no matter what here in the state of Michigan. So it doesn't matter whether, you can be undocumented, illegal, whatever. Everybody gets a driver's license. It's like we've turned into Oprah. And I use that metaphor so many times because we keep giving away all this stuff. So we're just going to give away license to anybody. No, I mean, just, I can't even fathom the Pandora's box that this would actually open if it actually came about. I'm not having social security numbers for verification. I mean, voting, you use your ID for everything, going to the doctors, going for, and they don't even know who these people are. So how can they verify whether it's Jaime Greene, Stephanie Greene, Susan Greene? I mean, I could change my name over and over again, which that's another issue in that bill package as well, that it's not just, I can change my name, I can identify as what I want. There's no verification needed. Yeah, I forgot that was part of this license bill package on not having to, and it's weird because there's like 10 bills in it, I believe, that they don't need the criminal. So think about it. Any criminal then could just go and just get a new driver's license.
Yeah. One thing, they did carefully was they didn't keep any of their Democrats in tough districts on this bill. You look at those co-sponsors and man, some of their ones in the tough seats have just mysteriously not signed their name onto this bill. I wonder why that might be.
It is very interesting.
Well, I remember this article stuck in my head for a very long time. I remember reading this 10 years ago. This was pointed out by Ann Coulter in November 2014. There was an election in 2014, and in Oregon, they had a Measure 88. And Measure 88 was the most popular bill on the ballot. It was a citizen-initiated law like we have in Michigan. And it got more votes than anything else on the ballot. More votes than pot legalization, more votes than the incumbent governor, incumbent senator, any of the 6 other ballot measures. And guess what it was to do? It prohibited illegal aliens from getting driver's licenses. And that was in Oregon, not Michigan, not Texas, no, in Oregon. It was more popular for among Democrats to not want to give driver licenses to illegals than, I mean, maybe things have changed a little bit in the past 10 years, but I mean, that's just a sign that this is an extremely unpopular thing, but hey, they're trying to push this through. I think they're going to probably wait until lame duck, though, is what my suspicion is. And that, of course, is why it's so important, folks. We got 2 special elections coming up. Of the 2, I like both of the candidates. I think mathematically, the seat in Westland is the special election. One of the 2, the other one's in Warren. The Westland seat where Josh Powell is running is more winnable. And I mean, here's the deal, guys. The Democrats are going to lay low until election day because they don't want to lose the election. But if they have the majority, and especially if they lose the majority in November, they have 2 months to ram all this nonsense through. And they're going to do as much of that as they possibly can forever. And the only thing that's going to stop that is getting a Republican elected in one of those 2 seats. So the election is April. It's the second Tuesday in April. I know that. So let me just pull up the guy's website. Josh Powell from Michigan. Definitely connected to his campaign. Here it is. Hold on. Let me bring it up on the screen here. April 16th. Thank you, Kelly. I guess I was wrong. It's the third Tuesday in April. April 16th. Thank you, folks. Powell for the number Michigan.com. You can go there and get connected to his campaign because that's a very important race, guys. Because all the stuff we're talking about tonight is going to come down to whether or not he wins that race.
Yep, that's definitely a boots on the ground race. They are happily receiving door knockers and obviously contributions. You're going to do an AV chase. And it's interesting that all of the sudden, is it the Democrat, the DNLC, the Democrat National Committee has come in and now this last week announced that they're dumping money in these 2 races. And I fully believe that is because we've been making some traction in both of those seats, and they feel that, whoa, there's a potential that we could actually lose these. I know that Powell seat, the Democrat, was posted on social media that he's already buying the suits, and I'm like, bro, I hope you kept the receipts because I would not hold my breath on that one, that you will be joining us in Lansing, because we are activating the entire state. The homeschool community, which I would like to talk about next, is coming down and door knocking everybody. The wind, solar folks, that of course we have that petition going as well for that losing of local control, which has even really irritated a lot of Democrats as well, because forget about any master plans or planning commission or these elected boards that you have put in place locally. That has been completely, of course, tossed out with the wind and solar siting now. So there are people who are activated. And if you have not gone down or at least contributed $5 to his campaign, please do so.
Yeah. I don't know if we can choose where you want to go next. We talk about the wind and solar stuff. That's another big thing they're pushing for, or we could talk about the homeschooling bills.
I'll go with the homeschool, because that's something that's been keeping me up since December 6th.
The registry. And I think it's more than that, but go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. So that's what happened there, and it is more than that. And a lot has been unveiled in the past couple of months. But on December 6th, Dana Nessel decided to reopen a closed case on a family that had a CPS claim on them. And she used that as a launch pad to talk about homeschool registration, that because we can catch abusers using homeschool registration. And I don't have her tweet posted up, but then Representative Kolazar then retweeted what she said and said, we need to close the loophole to make sure that all students are safe, and closing the loophole means registration. Now, I personally sat on that for about 12 hours before I could say anything, because I have developed a relationship with him over the last year. I'm the vice education chair, so he is my we're chairs. We're like co-chairs, and not co-chairs, but I'm the Republican chair. He's the Democrat chair, essentially. And as a homeschool mom myself, this was something that I was always a little bit concerned of, but we have successfully homeschooled with the laws that we have for 35 years in Michigan. So what this did, though, was then it just exploded, because obviously people knew what he was actually saying, and that was requiring a homeschool registration. But then he could have just kept his mouth shut. But he didn't. He went on CBS, WJR, the Washington Post. I mean, you name any type of local or even national media has gained attention on this. And that is where he is quoted over and over again that, yes, a registration is probable. And then it has even since been revealed, we already have a bill drafted for registration. Even Senator Paul Hankey said that there's one in the Senate. I believe there's actually even potentially a second one in the House as well. I have been touring the state of Michigan with Salt and Light Global, Michigan Christian Homeschool Network, AFP, which is Americans for Prosperity. I'm missing one. Yep. And Citizens for Traditional Value. And Lisha Kilgus, I can't remember her group, but we have been touring the state of Michigan, educating folks about this. And we have put a packet together for information, which I emailed it to you, but let me know if you didn't get that email, Adam, we have. And we still have more coming up. We have one, Senator Hazinga is hosting one in Grand Rapids in the next couple of weeks. And so we have been going through the timeline of what transpired to this point, of why this is our go time, because there have just been statements and press releases over and over again that the Democrats are making, that this is absolutely coming down the pipeline. Again, that is another reason why we have to win those 2 seats in the special elections, because this could be just rammed through in lame duck, like they rammed through all that crazy legislation last year. And it's based on a false premise which then brings me to another thing, is the case. Now, the Detroit News did a little bit more digging and found out that what Dana Nessel was accusing these families of, there is an incredible amount of false evidence and false statements. And it looks like we already know we have systemic issues in the CPS, but it is like even bigger than we could possibly imagine. And this whole case that was built up against these families is, I don't know, I don't have all the facts or the files, but there was a tremendous amount of fallacies in that alone. And so their entire premise for wanting to register homeschool students is completely false. And the narrative is completely false. And we cannot let them gaslight us anymore. This is an absolute overreach of government. There is zero reason that any student that is not in a government school needs to be on a government list for safety. I'm going to take a breather because this is something I'm really passionate about.
I will put a link in the description in the video after we're done with the stream where people can download that packet too, because it's substantial. It's 67 pages. So
yes, it's huge. It's all those organizations have a ton of information, from how a bill passes to how to write your legislator to the history, Michigan Christian Homeschool Network, and Israel Wayne has been leading this I don't even know, this charge. And he has even been keeping track and has a Google Drive available for people who, if you don't believe us that this is coming, he has a Google Drive where all of these statements are documented over and over again from Senator Polhanke and Representative Kolazar. And then, of course, now it's Representative Edwards who has the bill draft. It was ironic that Representative Hood outed her own colleague in an email to her constituent, and which is like a you do not do. If you have something in draft, it's usually kept confidential, and she outed her own colleague, which surprises me, but whatever. I don't sit in their caucus room.
Yeah. Amazing. So, and the other thing too is, if they're going to say, well, this one family was problematic, let's talk about the one or two things that have gone badly for students in the public school system, because I'm pretty sure there was an incident. Well, there's certainly one I can recall a few years ago at a public high school, but there was something very recently, if I recall correctly, where, and maybe you're familiar with this more than I am, but there was a story very recently. I want to say it was in Livingston County schools or somewhere in Livingston County, where a student was. Let me see if I can find the case. There was a very serious injury that was caused by gross negligence in the school district. I think I remember where I saw it.
Is that the lunch table that fell on there's so many. The lunch table that fell on the child, the numerous deaths due to choking, the 13% of students that are sexually assaulted by an administrator or a teacher, the students that are sexually assaulted by their own peers. The list goes on. About that's just the safety concerns, not to mention school shootings. We can even, and then talking about the academics is this will help academics. Well, what did they say? Like only 18% of kids can read in Michigan. Like it's like up to grade level.
Yeah, when I was in high school, we had a teacher that had to be hauled out for sexually molesting children. Choir teacher, in fact, in my high school. It's happening all the time, everywhere. And there's some bill. I'm trying to remember because I know I saw it somewhere. I'm going through my Twitter feed trying to find it now, where there was some bill that Democrats were blocking having a hearing on because of it related to this particular student. I'm just going to dig through my Twitter feed to find it here. But the point being, this is where the Democrats, they go on offense all the time. Like, look at this poster case. Okay, well, let's talk about your poster cases, because there's the damage, especially since COVID, when people started realizing what's going on in our public schools, there has been an exodus from, that's really what this is all about. This is about money, because every time a child is removed from a public school, public schools get a lot less money. And so that's why they want to drag people in, kicking and screaming back into the classrooms, because they, here's something. February 29th.
While you're looking at that,
against a school safety bill voted to raise the teachers' pension fund to pay for other things. This is
Oh, that's the governor's idea of how she wants to take from the pension fund to pay for her new free pre-K and also her free community college.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, where's the money come from for those things? Oh,
Yeah, well, out of the pension fund.
yeah, out of taxpayers' pockets.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. The government does not produce a single thing. It is every single dollar that you have made, that you have produced, that affords the government that opportunity to technically then serve you.
Yep. Ronald Mate says, or Matt says, Rosemary Bayer said on PBS off the record they're going to try to push through the assault weapon ban.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Speaking of Rosemary Bayer, we got a clip here. Do you want me to just play it first, or do you want to
play it first, since he already we can keep the conversation flowing. I'm settling in.
On board. Let's cut to the chase, Senator. Last night you heard the president shout out loud and clear, "Let's ban assault weapons." And when you heard that, or if you heard about that, you thought, here in Michigan, it's not going to happen.
You never say never here, right? Never say never. We got the first round of stuff through. We're not going to stop. We're with the president on this one.
There you go.
How disgusting is that? Does she even know what an assault rifle actually is?
I mean, anyone who's well, I'm not going to drag you into this. I'm just going to say, Rosemary, it amazes me this woman can tie her shoes in the morning, let alone serve as a state senator. It's unbelievable what people put up with in their lawmakers. But I mean, this is another issue. This is one of those things. What happened in 2013 when the Congress tried to pass the assault weapons ban? Oh, that's right. They lost their majority big time, bigly, same as in 1994 when they tried to do that. Oh, that's right. The assault weapons ban. Bring it, Democrats. I mean, really, I prefer they didn't, because I want to keep my, I want to keep my household rifles here. And that's the other thing too. And we've seen this in federal legislation. They are now sweeping in every kind of ordinary firearm to qualify it as an assault weapon.
Well, even look at what just happened this last year with our red flag laws, with our so no due process on having your firearms removed at all, which we actually do have a process for that has worked very well with the PPO process and ex parte, and now the registration of all of every single rifle now, and handguns. So there's quite a few more, and you've talked about them extensively on your show, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Very clearly, as the senator stated, she is coming after your guns, every single one of them, and she said it giddily. If you notice, she was laughing while she said it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. These people are proud of themselves. They really are. Let's hope the people in Westland understand what the Democrats are coming for. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
I can't see any questions, so you'll have to tell me. I'm just looking at you.
Let's see. Just saw a second ago. Someone asked me, is Big Grinch going to run for president? I doubt it, Jason. Frankly, I know that people are saying that because that's all part of the political mystique in the state of Michigan, but she doesn't have a political machine. Michigan is a welfare recipient of the Democratic International Communist Conspiracy, folks. It's been that way for decades because, well, a lot of reasons. One is the big thing was passing right to work. The left-wing labor bosses have targeted Michigan for years and years. We're a swing state. So money from California, from New York flows into Michigan. We are the recipients of all these out-of-state efforts to hijack our elections. We saw that with Proposal 2. To run for president as a Democrat, you have to be the owner of a political machine. Someone like Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden, who comes from the old Clinton, and there's another example, the Bill Clinton political machine. Gretchen Whitmer does not have a political machine. Gretchen Whitmer gets funds from the Democrat political machines elsewhere. So is she going to run for president? I strongly doubt it.
So I don't know. I kind of challenge you on that, because it's interesting that some of the things that she said in her state of state were not related to what we've accomplished in the state. So, for example, the pre-K, the early pre-K, but that free college, it was rather interesting because we already have college at 14, the early college program. We have these dual enrollment programs. So there is already a tremendous amount of funds going into obtaining your associate's degree. If you are part of a government school, and even private school students are able to cash in on some of these opportunities. So it was kind of out of nowhere that she talked about the free community college. And to me, that was just a national talking point. So if she's not running for president, she is definitely running for vice president or a cabinet position.
Yeah, that certainly is possible. The other thing I would say too is, not everyone runs for president to be president. Sometimes they run for president to get their name ID up there, sell some books, that kind of thing. That happens sometimes too. So just because it's not realistic doesn't mean she won't try. So there's always that too.
True.
Anyway, what else we were going to talk about? What was that other thing? We got, we talked about the homeschool bills. Oh, the utility monopoly.
Well, then while we're on why people homeschool, because we were talking about all those, listing the reasons why homeschool, the school safety package has sat in the education committee for over a year and a half. Like, it hasn't had any movement, and we have been really pushing it because since we are at 54-54, for those who, since you guys have been focusing on Christina Caramo, you may not realize that the House is still at 54-54. So we've been doing really strange stuff. We've been naming a lot of highways lately and doing Republican bills, surprisingly, but that's because they don't have the votes, and quite often they're missing a member. So they have to have every single one of us has to vote for their bill. They have to have their full votes, and they have to have two of ours in order to pass any legislation right now. So it's been kind of interesting. There's been a lot of behind the scenes work. All the legislators have been really, really busy because a lot of legislation has been introduced. But so, for example, the school safety package is a bipartisan package that has both Democrats and Republicans on it. You would think that this would be a done deal, like easy, smooth ride through committee. It has not. And I was even told not to be political. This is not politics, Jamie. I was like, really? It's not politics? And wow, we have to work on perfecting. And I'm like, have we actually passed a piece of legislation that was perfected yet? I mean, we've had things that were passed. Both chambers had to come back because they had so many errors in it. So perfection is definitely not hindering any legislation so far in Michigan. But the school safety package, which is like basic, like physical building. Like in my bill, we move the fire alarm, for example, from being easily accessible from the outside to only being accessible in the inside. Or having, and again in my bill, having radios that connect with the local police and EMS and the emergency management team that also have extenders that go through the entire schools. A lot of these schools were built that are just solidly, so radios don't work in them. So we need repeaters in them. So very basic fundamental stuff is in this legislation, and it has not had a hearing. So we will have, ironically, an education committee tomorrow at 5:30 at Sterling Heights High School. So Adam, can I ask you a question? Yeah, do you ever remember having a committee meeting in the evening outside of Lansing in a school in a 50-50 seat?
Oh, that's strange. 50-50 seat. You don't say. That sounds almost like, using taxpayer resources to campaign. Don't worry. I'm sure the House Ethics Committee will be right on top of that and make sure that gets shut down. Wait. Oh, wait, that's right. The election committee, the Ethics Committee is the Elections Committee. Oh, yeah.
I don't think they've met once.
Yeah. Jason Fisher says, Rescue Michigan, will Michigan be competitive? Should Trump campaign in Michigan, or did the political machine have a firm grasp of the elections? I think Michigan will be competitive, but we'll see. It depends. Look, folks, that's a dynamic that's going to change week to week, and that's something the Trump campaign is polling constantly. So they're going to go wherever they think they have the best chances and where their resources are most urgently needed. That's just kind of the way that is. So
I would really hope that he's polling so well that he wouldn't have to spend too much time here. Because if Trump is polling well in Michigan, that means we have that opportunity to flip the House back to being Democrats. We secure that John James seat, and who knows what's going to happen up in that open congressional seat as well. But we have some judges open as well. So if Trump can take that top of the ticket and just drag it all up, especially on the Republican side, that would be great. So if we are all doing our job as Republicans, Lord willing, Trump will not have to spend too much time in Michigan. As much as we love to see him, hear him over and over again, but let's do our jobs, like grassroots. I'm asking you to do your job to get that going, to get your neighbors out. I
would say, because if you look at this 2020 results, Trump did better in some of the other swing states. So if Trump is doing well in Michigan, he's probably doing a little bit better in Arizona, in Idaho, in Pennsylvania. So I kind of want, let's have Michigan be right on there on the fence. So he's already doing fine in these other key states. He's going to spend his time campaigning in Michigan, getting our people fired up so that they're going knocking on doors, taking back the House, taking back the U.S. Senate. That could be a good thing. So we'll see. Anyway, so the other big story is there's been this crazy special interest deal with the utilities. Just something the other day saying that we now have an energy crisis in America across the whole country because people didn't realize how much energy was going to be required by AI and data centers and things of this nature. And there is this huge demand for electricity all across the country. Lots of states aren't able to produce. Texas can't produce. And in Michigan, they're pushing forward legislation to destroy 90% of where we're getting energy from right now. Just shut it all down because it's dirty, according to them. And also, by the way, they're also passing bills to gut local control over what they can do on their own with their own zoning laws to force upon communities everywhere wind, solar. Now, I remember because I used to work with Gary Glenn, and he was campaigning. And by the way, for those who don't know, your district is Lapeer County. If you want to tell people more specifically, your district is
where I live. Okay,
County.
so yep, I guess I didn't do an introduction in the beginning. So I live in Macomb County, born, raised in Macomb County, except for my stint in the U.S. Navy. When I served in the military, I lived in San Diego and Florida and Chicago, and then came back to Macomb County. I live in Richmond, where I served on city council, but I also represent half of Lapeer County. So if you cut Lapeer County in half, and it is the east side, and then half of St. Clair County, so half of Casco all the way up to Greenwood and everything west. So geographically, the entire half of St. Clair County, and then the 4 northern townships in Macomb County. So it is all the agricultural areas of Lapeer, Macomb, and St. Clair counties.
Yeah, so you're getting up there near the thumb, which has tons and tons of these wind farms that everybody there hates. That's what to say. And Democrats
I call my district the gateway to the thumb, because you have to get through my district in order to get up to Representative Beeler's and Representative Alexander's districts. So yes, and that has been, even when I was campaigning for state representative 3 years ago, that was a hot topic then, because a lot of they're very small municipalities. So they operate on a very low budget, very easy. Not a lot of things happen in agricultural areas until solar and wind companies come and offer farmers a lot of money to buy acres of their land to do all this. Ironically, and maybe I am a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but they did this huge upgrade, I would say a couple years ago, that they just started finishing, of like looping the power throughout the thumb. And I believe that they did that huge transmission line upgrade to prepare for this. They knew that this wind and solar stuff was eventually going to be coming down the pipeline. And so back then, but to get back to where I was, is those local municipalities were shoring up their ordinances to have even Wales. So here's a township in my district. Wales Township did a master plan, sectioned out, parsed out part of their township to be for solar siting. So they're like, hey, we're going to be good citizens. We're going to have this nice strip along 69 to be solar. And so they even put that in their master plan. And then they were working on writing ordinances with that. Well, this last year, just to get people up to date. Sorry, I'm taking over.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, if you guys have watched my stream, you know I tend to be the one that monopolizes the conversation, and it's not good.
So then I'm on the education committee. And so I already knew kind of this was coming down the pipeline because of visiting all my municipalities. They were working on their ordinances. They have spent a lot of money working on these ordinances. Well, last term, I guess last June, the Democrats decided to say, you know what, forget about your master plan, forget about your planning commission, anything that you've written, your ordinances, they mean nothing. We are going to usurp everything that you have done, and the state of Michigan is going to decide where wind and solar needs to be sited. Which is unfortunate because farming is really hard. If you took a bite of food today, thank a farmer, because that is the only way you get food, is because people grow food, and that we need it to sustain and to survive. But farming is really expensive. People think that farmers are rich. And it's been interesting watching the agricultural committee. The Democrats have no idea what happens in agriculture or how farming happens, or they just think they're rich and they don't realize that the kids that go to school where they live, they're Title I schools. They are not wealthy people at all. They have a lot of money in their equipment, but their income, some of them barely make it by. And so, of course, they're enticed. If you're offered $1 million an acre for every year for like 20 years not to farm anymore, that is so hard to decide that because it's so enticing. But if we don't have farming, we don't have food. So, but at the same time, we also need to plan well, because people come out to our area because they love acres. They love the rolling hills. In Dryden, we have beautiful horse country. And so you see a cornfield, you see a vegetable farm, you see all these farms when you come and you live, or that's just where you've always been. And all of a sudden now the state is going to decide what goes next door to you without any like regulations, restrictions of what goes on with the local ordinance and local planning. And it's so disappointing. I mean, from even basic easement to screening to noise reduction, that is all gone. It is complete state authority. It is very socialist and communistic concept, if you think about it, that you have no control then as a local landowner except to try and convince your neighbor not to sell their property. That is your only line of defense right now, unless we get this petition. There is a petition drive to put local control back in the place of the local authority. And it is actually a bipartisan effort. I didn't even know there are Democrats that existed in my district, because I have a very conservative district, but they have now come out and they are upset about it as well, because they also know that wind and solar may seem clean, but when you go from cradle to grave to any of those products, they are dirty, if not dirtier than natural gas and nuclear.
Yeah, this is the website, by the way, micitizenschoice.org. You can get connected to them there. They're doing great work. They seem to be funded, which is a good thing, because I see a lot of people always talk about, let's do a ballot proposal. I'm like, okay, you got $10 million laying around? Which they usually say no, but it appears a lot of people are very, very furious about this, and they're doing great work to get that done. By the way, you probably know this, but you know, when I'm looking up in a way like this, it's because I'm checking chats on Rumble and other places, and I always gotta go like this to look up at Rumble because I have to keep it in a separate window. So, Great Wolf 49 on Rumble says Bald Lake Schools is sitting on nearly $1.4 million for school safety, and has been for nearly 2 years, and won't spend it for anything other than buckets and cat litter. So there you go. Also says bring back hydro nuclear. Well, you have to talk to the people in Midland County about hydro. Just saying. But that's a whole other story.
Too soon.
Jason Mickelborg says, so don't protest at the Sekio Weiser building then? Yeah, don't do that, guys. There's a special election. Go to Westland, knock on some doors. I don't know if you heard that story, Jamie, because
No,
yeah.
but that's the old GOP headquarters, correct?
Old and new GOP headquarters now. They're moving back in, and apparently some people are very, very unhappy about Christina Caramo having been removed as leader. So they're going to protest in Lansing on Saturday morning, this coming Saturday, because this next weekend, Saturday morning, because that's what you got to do, folks. Not win the special election, but protesting from an empty building on a Saturday morning when no one's even there to see you.
That's what I was just going to say. Also, those who are you might want to take some protection with you, because that's not in a savory spot of Lansing.
No, Lansing's not a good town to go to in general, let alone on a Saturday. Well, yeah, it's not too far from the Capitol, but it's a few blocks away.
Yes.
But by the way, I meant to bring this up on last stream. I don't want to digress too much, Jamie, but this is something I neglected from last night's stream, so I did want to at least mention this because I was going to touch on this. The case between the Republican Party and itself has ended. There has been a stipulation to dismiss with prejudice between Michael D. Bishop, General Counsel, and the Michigan Republican Party Trust, as well as Comerica Bank. And it's a very short stipulation. Notice here, this lawsuit was commenced on December 3rd. At the time the complaint was filed, Daniel J. Hartman served as MRP's General Counsel. Hartman filed this action in that capacity. On January 19th, the lawsuit was commenced in the Circuit Court for the County of Kent, styled Melinda Pago et al. V. Caramo. Taking a declaration, Christina Caramo was properly removed as chair of the Michigan Republican State Committee. The business conducted at MRSC's January 6th meeting included the removal of Mr. Hartman as general counsel. Accordingly, if the January 6th meeting was properly noticed, convened, and conducted, Mr. Hartman is no longer the general counsel of the Michigan Republican Party. On January 20th, they convened a meeting in which Michael Bishop, former congressman, was elected as general counsel to succeed Mr. Hartman. On February 27th, the Kent County Circuit Court entered its order granting plaintiffs' motion for a preliminary injunction, determining that Christina Caramo was indeed properly removed as chair of the MRSC at a lawfully convened meeting of the MRSC on January 6, 2024. And on February 29th, the Michigan Court of Appeals denied Ms. Caramo's motion to stay the Kent County's Circuit Court's order. The parties therefore stipulate and agree that Mr. Hartman is no longer the general counsel of the Michigan Republican Party. The parties further agree that Mr. Bishop is authorized to sign this stipulation and bind the Michigan Republican Party to an agreement to dismiss this case in its entirety with prejudice. The parties represented by the undersigned counsel therefore agree that this civil action, including all claims asserted or which could have been asserted against the defendants, should be dismissed with prejudice without fees or costs awarded to any party. So apparently they figured out who owns that building. So there you go. That's the end of that story. I would have enjoyed reading some various filings had that suit continued, but it is for the best of the Republican Party in Michigan that it is all over with. So there you go, folks. The end of an era. Lauren Turner says, even if Axe My Tax were funded, if we got rid of the property taxes, it would remove control of that money from local municipalities and the state would take over. We wouldn't get rid of taxes. Yeah, that's the thing about this Axe My Tax thing, folks. This happened once. This happened in 1994. And a state senator named Debbie Stabenow said, I'm going to show the Republicans because Governor John Engler campaigned on cutting the taxes and he hasn't cut any taxes. So I'm going to propose we cut the property tax in Michigan. And it was going to be just a grandstanding statement. But then Governor Engler called up the Senate Majority Leader and said, let it ride. I want that amendment. And suddenly the Michigan tax code was thrown in the garbage. And suddenly Governor John Engler got to rewrite Michigan's tax code. That's what's going to happen if you guys axe your tax. Guess what? The Democrats in power now get to rewrite Michigan's tax code. That's a brilliant idea, isn't it? So, yeah. I mean, it sounds great. I know, but it's the same as this other stuff, guys. It's the silver bullet. You guys are all after that silver bullet. The one thing, the we elect Christina Caramo and everything, the world will be saved. Nope. There are no easy answers.
How about let's start giving tax credits to everybody and let's just reduce our overall tax rate instead. I mean, instead of parsing out all this tax stuff over and over again, or you get a tax credit, you get a tax credit, you get a rebate, you get a rebate. I mean, and we're talking billions of dollars here in that SOAR funding and all kinds of government spending in tax credits. Instead, we could just stop it, and then, which we tried, and we have unfortunately lost because, Governor Snyder put that in place where if we met a certain point of revenue, that we would have to roll back that income tax, and it was not deemed permanent, which I don't understand. That's how that even has happened, but I guess that's where we are in our courts. I think it was the appellate court. I'm not sure where it just ended last week, and I don't know if they'll pursue it any further. But that's the kind of garbage that the Democrats do. This should have been a permanent tax rollback, and it's not. And I understand. I do understand. I agree with you on the heart of the Axe My Tax. But if you look at how in the state of Michigan we fund things, it's insane. And because it's in state statute, it is next to impossible to undo unless you just wipe the whole thing clean. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be against that, but if you look at the fiscal analysis and how we have all these pockets, and then it's like this complete spaghetti strap thing that goes in all these different directions. And it's not just a budget, because the legislature, to protect itself, the governor to protect themselves throughout the decades, have put it in statute. So it's statutory, and you can't not fund things when it was put in statute.
Yeah.
So it's much more nuanced than we think. And also, I do like to fund local municipalities, which I know that's where primarily my taxes go to. I live in a fantastic city. We pay for our own police and our fire, and we have our own 911 system, even in the city of Richmond. And that's because the taxes that we pay go directly to fund those type of things, which I choose to live in a city, and this city specifically, for those services.
Yeah, and it's funny how Democrats have this funny idea that everything they do needs to work to their political advantage. Republicans are like, hey, let's do something that's going to blow us up on election day. By the way, Jason Mickelborg says 65 and older, no property tax. Wrap that one with no daylight savings time. Well, that sounds great, Jason, except that if you're under 65, you might not want to live in Michigan anymore, because you might have a problem finding a workforce here if that was the policy. Although Bill Hamilton says get rid of the state income tax. Well, that's what. Yeah, we'd like to get to Florida, but not one step at a time. What else we got here? Oh, we did not get to. There's another topic I was going to go over. Oh, just the miscellaneous bills. Oh, actually, I've got some bills to look at. Here's one I was surprised at, only because I actually kind of like it, although I know I shouldn't. But there is a bill, 5520 and 5521, which are Democrat bills that would ban donations from utility monopoly companies to 501c4s and PACs, which I know is against the First Amendment, and that's probably a big reason why Democrats like it. But for those who don't know, and Jamie, feel free to go if you don't want to talk about DTE and consumers, because they are an 800-pound gorilla in Lansing. But they spent $2 million just defaming and destroying the career of my former boss, Gary Glenn, because he had the nerve to stand up to them. And because, in particular, he was pushing legislation to allow schools and other entities to have choice, to be able to go to alternatives. And for that, they just ran millions and millions of dollars through a nonprofit to destroy him in his race for the state Senate. So even though it's anti-democratic and it's against freedom, to the small number of Democrats that actually sponsor that bill, hey.
So I'm very familiar with this bill. It's Representative Wagalas, who is the socialist on the Democrat side. He's a nice guy. I get along fantastic with him. He actually wears the socialist rose. So he is a very proud socialist when he says that. And he has more, like, it's always interesting to see, you will see more bills like this. I actually may have a bill myself. Very similar that I'm working on with a Democrat. So there is definitely an appetite for sunshine and transparency on both sides of the aisle. But like you said, it is still nuanced. I know Gary Howell, who I cover half of his district before, worked on a very similar bill with Representative Brixey before, and that's the one I may be taking a look at introducing. And it is hard because it does stifle, you're right, the free speech and people want to have access. But at the same time, it's also a way to hide money. So here, can I share my pie in the sky grand idea of what I'd like if I were a queen for a day? That we would have one committee. There would not be a leadership committee. There wouldn't be any PACs. There wouldn't be any of this other stuff. If you were a candidate, you had one committee and there were no limits. You could spend whatever you want and you could receive whatever you want, but you had to live record every single transaction that you did. So if somebody flew you to Hawaii, you had to record it immediately that it had to come in. If DTE was giving you money, you have to immediately record it, whatever it is. That would just be, I know that will never happen, but it would be great if we could have more transparency in the reporting. And then you would have the opportunity to give unlimited amounts to a candidate. They wouldn't have to hide it in 4 different accounts, and then they could spend whatever they want. But you could see it, that it would be transparent, that everybody could see every dollar coming in and every dollar going out. Wouldn't that be a great world?
Well, I always take the side of donor privacy, though, too. And people have a right to donate anonymously. That was a huge issue in the civil rights movement for Black Americans. That should be an issue today for Republicans, because guess who's on the receiving end of losing their jobs for their political spending today?
Oh, absolutely. But that is, then we need to then lay off everybody on the dark money, because that's exactly what that is the dark money that everybody keeps talking about.
All right. We may have to, well, I mean, without a bill on the table, we may just have to agree to disagree on that. But there's been a few other bills.
I don't have anything yet, and my idea will never come to fruition.
Well, there's been a few bills in recent years. Like I remember when I was working for Rep. Riley's office, there's this Democrat named Dave LeGrand who was a very, very clever fella, and he came in. He's like, "Hey, I got a bill I think your boss will really like. It's going to require huge financial disclosures that all the candidates have to support. And I know your boss is big on transparency and yada, so he should co-sponsor this." And I'm like, okay, I'll take a look at it. And as soon as he leaves, John comes in later on. I'm like, oh, Rep. LeGrand came in. He wanted you to sponsor a bill to eliminate donor privacy and make it so that guys like you wouldn't want to run for office, so that they could sick the law enforcement on you and have Dana Nessel investigate you for all of your disclosures and stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff
that is a great perspective, and I needed to hear that. It's very refreshing, your thoughts. I
mean, you have to remember the rules only apply against Republicans. So when they say,
true.
"Oh, we're gonna order you to disclose all your personal finances as a condition of running for office," okay. Now
we have to do that now. You know that was that. Well, we didn't quite get there all the way, but
yeah, there's more they want to do too. But yeah, I mean, to me, I think this is a First Amendment issue. I mean, it's to me, it's like a search and seizure as a condition of political participation.
So do you like Wagella's bill or not like Wagella's bill then?
No, I mean, in principle, only because it's the utilities he's trying to screw over. That's the only reason. But the utilities are they're in a very weird place where they're neither it's like the Fed. They're private sort of, but they're a legislative monopoly where they're entitled to 90% of the market share. So they have a guaranteed profit margin. I mean, everything is so perverse with them. In fact, there's actually a similar socialist. He's not in the legislature anymore, but this guy, Yosef Rabi from Ann Arbor. And one of the last things he did on his way out the door was he put in a bill to basically have the government take over the utility companies. And, and even some conservatives are like, no, we don't want to do that. It's like, well, the issue is, I mean, these people right now have this incentive. Like they get a guaranteed profit margin. So the more expensive energy is, the more money they make. So, they love this Democrat stuff. They love having to produce green energy because it costs more. So they make more. And they'll protest. Well, we probably physically can't go to 100% renewable in 10 years, Senator, but we'll do the best we can. And you're going to give us the exemption when we don't meet our deadline, won't you? Of course you will.
I have a feeling that bill is going to rear its ugly head again.
It will. Yeah, of course it will. Yeah, Bill Hamilton says just ban campaign money from out-of-state donors, including donations to PACs. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that sounds good because of where we're situated, but you guys got to think about the shoe on the other foot test always. Jason also says, and close the primaries. Yeah, the ship sailed on that one when Republicans lost the governor's mansion, unfortunately. I was talking about that 10 years ago, but no one wanted to listen. What else we got here? Some other bills I wanted to mention. We are going to catch up on Operation Watchdog soon. There's not been too many new bills, although every once in a while, some funny ones do stick out from time to time, including there's a little package of bills, 5410 to 5412. I always think, I used to work with one of my coworker was this guy named Mike Oshka, who's a former state senator. He was in the legislature for 14 years. I'm sure you know Mike. And I remember when
he's amazing.
Yeah, he really is. I want to get him on the show sometime, but staffers have limited ability to go talk to media. But anyway, during the Todd Corser expulsion hearings, he was like, man, you don't realize until it's over how limited your time in Lansing is and how much more you wish you could have done, but for the fact that you didn't realize how little time you actually had. And with that in mind, talking about the scarcity of lawmakers' time, here's what Noah Arbit and with co-sponsors Kerry Reinings, Emily Devendorse, Aaron Burns, Regina Miller, my state rep in a swing district, and Sharon McDonnell have introduced is House Bills 5410 to 5412, which criminalize the raping of corpses. So there you go, guys. You guys only get I think 5 bill requests a month, and Noah Arbit had to go to the Legislative Services Bureau and say, give me a bill that makes it illegal to rape corpses. So there you go. There is Noah Arbit's bill. Good job, Representative Arbit. Lots of great work you guys do in Lansing. Sorry, I had to bring that one up.
Representative McDonald is on that one.
Yeah. We have a category in Operation Watchdog. We have tags on different bills, and there's a tag called creepy. And man, it's quite a lot of bizarre bills the Democrats put in.
So that bill also, there's more to it. It's not, it makes sodomy illegal. So
it used to, the current law. Yeah. So they're taking, obviously it's been overturned by a court. So that's just legislative housekeeping, I would say. Right. Yeah. But they like to do that too. They've been, another thing people have pointed out is for all this talk about it's International Women's Month and we love women so much. The Democrats have put every bill erasing the word woman and writing in individual, erasing pregnant woman, writing in pregnant person, like all this sick, crazy stuff.
Oh, let's talk about the breastfeeding legislation. Can we just for a second, how it's not a woman anymore, it's a person.
Oh, geez. So gross.
Oh, no, that's ask Senator Hertel about the breastfeeding language.
That's amazing.
It absolutely is. It's disgusting because only women who have women bits can actually feed children.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot to digest for tonight. There were some other kind of off topics I want to go over, but I don't know. We've covered a lot of ground tonight. And man, this is my 4th stream this week. By the way, left of center, this is my show. If you want to put words in other people's mouth and tell us what to ask, you can get your own show. So we won't be talking to left of center Michigan tonight, unfortunately. But if you guys have events you want to, Jamie, if you have things you want to promote, events, anything you got coming up in your district, you certainly have the floor if you want to do that. And of course, you're always welcome to come back on again. I'm looking to get your colleague Jamie on next weekend too, so that'll be fun.
Oh, fantastic, Representative Thompson. That would be great. She's a fantastic colleague. We have become great friends. Just keep aware of the homeschool forums that we're doing. And of course, if anybody wants to host them, let me or Eileen McNeil from Citizens for Traditional Values know. We are looking for host locations that, of course, if you bring your own audience, we will bring a panel. And it would be even better if your local senator or state representative would host it and partner with you in it. Of course, then in Macomb County tomorrow night, for the first time ever at 5:30 p.m. at Sterling Heights High School, we are having an education standing committee. I'm very curious as
There
to
you
what
go.
this
Tomorrow, 5:30, Sterling Heights High School.
5:30 tomorrow, Sterling Heights High School. So if you want to see or experience an education committee, and come on out. You'll also have access to, of course, everybody on the education committee board. So you can ask them questions before and after. You can't usually speak during a committee hearing, and I believe it's a testimony only. I don't even think we're talking about legislation, but so
Well,
people in Macomb County, Lapeer County, St. Clair County, Wayne, all of you guys, Oakland, come on out.
Yeah, it's the Democrats' PR stunt, and it's open to the public. So you're welcome to show up and say whatever you want. So there you go. That's tomorrow at 5:30.
And then, of course, I just want to shout out, support your state representatives, support your senators. Since I have the floor for a second, talk to us before you blast us. Come and have a conversation with us on why we do what we're doing. Maybe we'll let you in on some of our strategy of what's going on behind the scenes in Lansing, things that we're working on. I would like to say all of my colleagues on my side are open and ready to receive people's engaging conversation, your ideas, your opinions, and they do matter, especially phone calls and individual emails. When you're communicating with a legislator, those form emails, I'm going to tell you, we count them, but they go into a box. We usually don't really see who sends them. We just start counting them. I have I'm at 8,000 with a puppy bill right now. So I didn't even think that many people voted in my primary election. So I'm not sure they're all from my district, but have that personal connection with your legislator. Do not be afraid. We are pretty busy, but we do have time to talk to you about your issues, and especially me. So, and I guess that's it for tonight. I'm so honored to be here tonight, and just thank you for calling me and asking me. I've been a fan of the show probably since its inception. So I might have had a fangirl moment in the beginning, but thank you, Adam, for having me.
It was a pleasure having you on. And also, by the way, on Rumble, Graywolf49 says contact the Lakes Area Tea Party regarding the homeschooling panel. And I think also remember to take you up on that offer to have some folks come out to talk to the Washtenaw County GOP as well.
So if you guys could email me those requests I'd send it to my campaign email, the vote for Greene, VOTEFORGREENE @gmail.com, or please, Eileen McNeil at Citizens for Traditional Values has been pivotal in organizing and coordinating all of this.
Right on. Also, Grey Wolf also says Arvid probably got kicked in the balls when he tried to get it on with a stallion. So there you go. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in tonight. And I'm sure we'll have more streams during the week, and of course another one next Sunday. So as always, guys, thanks for all you do for liberty. Until the next time, peace.